Hi, my name is Justin Albert, and welcome to Soulfire Spreads. I'm sorry about the dark appearance of the video, but I am currently sitting at the F&M Park in Lancaster City, walking my roommate's 6-month-old baby because she didn't want to sleep. She was very fussy. But this is my first video, and I am here to express the concept of living as an empath and the experience of spiritual awakening and adapting to a sensitivity that may cause mental, emotional, and physical distress if not recognized and managed properly. So, I'll start by explaining my spiritual awakening. When I was 6 years old, I was walking home from the bus stop, and I used to have these giant pine trees in my backyard, and I had never been raised with religion, so none of this was taught to me. None of this was preordained. So what ended up happening was I was walking. It was a beautiful sunny day. The sun was high, and it was warm. It was in the beginning of the school year. It's one of my first memories. And I stopped, and I observed the bottom of the tree. I observed the bed underneath the pine tree, and I saw squirrels run and then climb up the tree. And I followed the trunk slowly with my eyes all the way to the top, witnessing the activity of the beings in the tree, the birds, squirrels. I felt the tree. And as I continued to follow the tree's trunk to the very peak of it, I ended up looking up into the sky. And when I did that, I had an overwhelming feeling of the presence of something that I had never known. I became awake then. However, I did not know what had happened. I simply was reached into by the universe and told, "You are part of me, and there's a plan for you." Now, as a young man, my go-to function was to do anything that would please other people. I had always had this sense of separation and distance from the people that I was around because my mind governed everything that I did. I thought too much and felt intensely, extremely intensely. And as I look back, because only in retrospect can I see the pattern, I realized that not only was I experiencing unfiltered empathy, which I'll explain, but I was also experiencing an awareness of what was going on in the world. So consider 1991, 1990, the Gulf War, the mental and emotional schism within my father, my mother's insecurities and fears, and the pain going on around me. I wasn't conscious enough or educated enough to understand what was actually happening, and that was the problem. Now, my goal is to teach because I believe that if we start teaching people who are living with this condition, who are living in this state, and they are trained from the beginning, they will have the ability to use their gifts, whatever gifts the universe deems them to have, as a way to counter what I call the anti-love spirit, which is a pervasive and ever-present spirit of fear, doubt, anger, sadness, pain, the antithesis of all that we're meant to be. So, as I continued to grow older, I started experimenting with drugs. And then I stopped experimenting with them, and I started using them professionally, I'll say. And I had gone as far as I possibly could in the ways of using hallucinogens. And what ended up happening was, as I continued to push the boundaries of my perceptive reality, I had another spiritual awakening experience. And this is not a suggestion that you use hallucinogens. This is simply my experience. I know from all spiritual teachings and all the study that I've done that hallucinogens are not necessary. But this was my path. If you do choose to use hallucinogens, exercise extreme caution and do not do them unless you have somebody who's experienced and spiritually awake and able to help you through anything you might experience. So, moving on, I'll describe the moment where I became aware of what exactly was going on with me. I had taken an excessive amount of LSD, and I was at a festival. I literally felt my consciousness invert, and my subconsciousness took over, and then the universe started revealing things to me. It said, I am, and we are. There is living energy beyond understanding that you, yourself, are a conduit and interpreter of. And my awareness was elevated. The overwhelming feeling I got was community, was connection. And all of a sudden, I realized that I was connected to every single person that I was around. And I observed that connection. Now, in the human body, there are 7 main chakra points. Top of the head is the crown. In the middle of the forehead is the third eye. In the throat area is called the throat chakra. In the middle of the chest is the heart chakra. Beneath that, at the very top of the stomach, underneath the rib cage, is the solar plexus. Beneath that, at the top of the pubic bone, is the sacral chakra, and at the base of the tailbone is the root chakra. There are natural energetic meridians going through the human body. They process and allow the flow of positive and negative energy and equally masculine and feminine energy. The left side of the body absorbs the energy and the right side of the body projects it. How I know this is from experience, but also all the studies that I have come to know as true and factual agree on this point. And the reference point is that I felt the connection. So, describing it, it felt as if I was part of everyone around me. And I realized that I could feel their feelings. I didn't realize then how absolutely intense merging with other people's feelings and interpreting them would be for me. But I learned that I could understand anything. Now, I've been through a very large amount of tragic experiences that I won't go into detail about, but I will explain this. That as I grew spiritually and in communion with the universe, I was told 2 things. That the energy is from a source of creation that has given us the gift of life. The gift of life is known as the life force. The life force is measurable through an MRI machine. You can see the energy field around people. Science calls it cellular discharge, but in actuality, it is the energetic force of life from the source of life, which is the totality of all the divine powers, known as the pleroma. The pleroma is multifaceted union and diversity at the same time. There is no way to fully understand the totality or the aspects of the divine, because existentially and essentially the divine is incomprehensible to the human. However, we ourselves hold a divine spark. As long as we're able to tap into it and recognize it, that divine spark will be our driving force if we willfully submit to it and understand its potential and its necessity. So, I decided that I was going to test this, and in complete sane and sober function, I realized that I had the ability to not only tap into the energies that were flowing through, into and out of all my chakras, but I was able to use the energy to heal people. And to some who are science-minded, that may sound far-fetched, but if you ever investigated Reiki, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. So I decided that it was my function to understand the people I was around. And I had to learn a few lessons. One was that when I merge with other people's energies, it can linger and it can emotionally affect me. Two, sometimes I should not trust my thoughts because my thoughts may not be genuinely mine. Three, pardon the smoking. I had a connection with the energy that came from the source and an awareness of its will. So it taught me two lessons. One, that the will, the mind, and the emotions of me, my mind, will, and emotions are in conjunction, the triangle, and it symbolizes the soul. The comprised mind, emotions, and will are the soul. The life force and divine spark within us is the spirit, and then the body is the physical. In simpatico, I realized that I would have to learn how to shield myself from dark and negative energies. I would have to learn how to process energies and then release them. I would have to learn how to interact with people without taking on their shit, for lack of a better term. And so I started to study. I realized that all religions and all forms of spirituality agree on certain facts, that there are divine beings beyond us, that the human condition is not just a physical and mental carnal existence, but a spiritual one as well. Western society has ignored the spiritual until now because the collective consciousness is growing and we're awakening in droves. Since I and someone else that I know very closely awoke before this ascension, this modern current ascension, I had years to train myself in this. So the people I was around were sometimes confused about the fact that I was able to sit there and look at them and tell them exactly how they felt and tell them exactly what they were thinking. And it's not a psychic connection, even though this is possibly described as psychic, because the root of the word psychic would be psychos, which means soul. It's a Greek word. So perhaps I was reading their soul, but the function and responsibility is to help other people process their stuff without becoming affected by it. And when I did allow myself to become affected by it, I had caused myself extreme stress, panic attacks, depression, excessive drug use, isolation. I didn't want to be around people because I didn't know how to separate from their stuff. And it wasn't always consciously. It was not always something that I was functioning in, but purposely functioning in, I should say. But the bottom line is this. I tried to help people with it. Instead of seeing it as a bad thing, I thanked the universe for its blessing of me, for its gift. And I spent some very close time with my mother, coming to understand Christianity, modern practiced Western Christianity, and just simply communing with her. And it taught me to be selfless as much as I could. And though I failed many, many times, the lesson was always there. And one of the greatest lessons I learned from her was forgiveness. And she taught me the meaning of forgiveness, which then brought within me the ideas of what love truly is. And I studied love extensively so I could understand it and understand that love itself is the source. So I came to believe that that source and that love would be the reason that my life had value. And through the tragic experiences I've had, I've come to determine that teaching people like me and helping them live a life of purpose, if I'm able to, if I'm worthy of it, is the only reason for me to live. And so I willfully submit. And as I've grown, I've been able to receive guidance and messages and insight and, for lack of a better term, the power to fulfill this purpose. So one of the mandates is humility, one of the mandates is managing the energies within me. And it takes meditation. There are several frequency wave meditations on YouTube that will help cleanse and balance the energy. You can look up chakra balancing or cleansing meditations, focus, and discipline, humility. These concepts are existential factors in what love is defined as. So I believe that all the gods that are ever expressed in any type of lower religion are all the same God, and I believe that they're all aspects of the divine will. I believe that the divine will has purposely woken us up, and for what, I'm not certain. However, it's highly important to realize that if we have the gift and we can use the gift, we're responsible to do our part. So here are certain things that I do that will possibly help you balance your energy and maintain a healthy mental, emotional, and physical state. The first is get good sleep. If you do not sleep, you cannot be balanced. I've had a problem with insomnia my entire life, and at night when I can't sleep, my mind goes to the dark because the dark deceives me. The anti-love spirit will, put things in my head to make me afraid or make me question myself or make me feel guilty or shame or make me, simply unfocused on the mission, which is be as much love as possible and be as of much service as possible. So sleep is essential. A good diet, stuff that does not calcify the pineal gland, which means no fluoride. Fluoride is one of the worst things that a human can put in their body. It will calcify the seat of the soul, which is the pineal gland, which produces dimethyltryptamine in the brain, which causes us to dream. And when we dream, our brains grow in conjunction with our spirit because our consciousness takes over and they merge and begin teaching us the will of the divine. So it's highly important to eat foods that are not full of additives, preservatives, any types of high sugar content foods are bad, and it doesn't mean eat completely organic, and it doesn't mean eat nothing but raw foods. What it means is make sure you're protecting yourself from stuff that will make your brain go wonky. And the third is make sure that you have a daily spiritual regimen. Meditate in the morning. If you're a believer in, practical or modern Christianity, make sure you pray to your God. All the teachings of Jesus Christ and all the teachings of the God of the Bible are in conjunction with Eastern teachings and in conjunction with the spiritual path that I'm taking, and they are valuable. So the wisdom in the Bible is essential. The wisdom in the Buddhist teachings is essential. There's wisdom in Islam, there's wisdom in Hindu, there's wisdom in all aspects of religion. I just urge you to let your heart guide you, and I urge you to make sure you study and understand what you believe and why you believe it. And if you do believe it, then you're living the way you think is right in your heart, and that will help you be balanced. It's important to recognize when your energies are flying off and out of control, when you're taking on too much stuff. It's important to make sure that you balance your interactions with other people with your interactions with your inner self, and be able to focus on your inner self and be able to tap in and understand the state of your chakras. The way I do it is I sit quietly, I take a deep breath, and I allow my mind to stop controlling me, and what I end up doing is simply shifting into what I call the spirit. It's difficult to explain, but in one-on-one teachings, what I do is I help somebody clear their mind, and I help them focus on the feeling in their solar plexus which I said is at the top of the stomach, right beneath the rib cage, and explain how that feels after examining it for several moments. At that point, I tell them to focus and, in their mind, create intention. Intention is one of the most important factors of energetic use and balance. Intention is in conjunction with our will, which is the function of controlling the energies around us. So, when I teach, I'm going to be calling the energies Libu, living energy beyond understanding. This living energy connects us all to each other, to the planet and the cosmos beyond, and to the source of all that is. We start with the solar plexus and focus in to see how we feel. We see within us whether or not our solar plexus is connected to energies throughout the rest of the body. I ask my students to explain how that feels and explain whether or not they feel anything affecting that energy. When I feel it, I feel a form of disturbance or discomfort, not pain, but discomfort. If somebody is anxious, and then all of a sudden I will manifest within myself their emotional state. I have done so purposely in order to display these things, but since I'm alone right now, I'll simply tell you that, I'm surrounded right now with a peaceful, loving energy. I'm sitting in a park surrounded by trees and the 6-month-old baby in the stroller right next to me, and she's sleeping, and she's a conduit for love because all babies are favored by the divine. So I then allow myself to focus in on all the 7 different chakras and recognize their state. If I am afraid of anything, that's the first thing that I have to combat. So I will control my mind enough to allow myself to focus in on an intention. Say my intention is to make sure that I fulfill all my responsibilities in one day. What I'll do is I will focus in on it. I will picture in my mind myself fulfilling my responsibilities, and then I will breathe deeply, relax my entire body, and in my mind give this intention to the universe. I picture in my mind that there's energy coming in and out of me, and then I actually feel it, and then I release. Releasing intentions then allow the universe to bond and understand what our intentions are, and if it approves of our will, we will be blessed, and all things will work out the way that we've intended. And it's only meant to be used for the betterment of any situation. Selfishness and personal gain will ultimately lead to some form of pain. So be careful and make sure that you're always communing with other empaths who have an understanding and who have been trained enough to hone their abilities. Because if we don't hone our abilities, if we don't manage this condition, what we'll have is a whole bunch of conflicted wills making intentions either accidentally or negatively releasing them, and then we will be attracting the things that we fear, the things that bring us pain, the things that cause struggle or strife, financial insecurities, relationship issues, emotional issues, even mental health issues, because that's what we're focused on, and those are the intentions of our heart. The deepest intentions of our heart must be studied, must be understood. So above all, know thyself. And before you attempt to release intentions into the universe, I highly urge you to study what it is to be a spiritually awakened being and an energetic user, for lack of a better term. This state that we're in and this current ascension is powerful. And if we do not bond in communion, we may waste the opportunity that we've been given by the universe to bond with the collective consciousness in, collective will, and raise our collective energetic vibrations to elevate humanity to a new state of enlightenment. Spiritual enlightenment is the goal, because within it we willfully bond with the will of the universe and we become peace. If love is our guide, and love is understood, all its aspects, all its existential and essential qualities, then we can't go wrong. And if we bond in communion in love, all things will be good. Someone wise once told me, in the end, all is well, and if all is not well, it is not the end. Thank you. This has been Soulfire Spreads. Once again, I am Justin Albert. May love and light be your guide, and may you be blessed and favored by all that is. Good night.